So today we are doing a high-speed, forward-looking deep dive. We're looking at Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and specifically its projected state in 2025. And when you think of Addis, you probably have a certain image, right? The massive Mercado market, maybe historic churches, the African Union headquarters. But what the sources are telling us is that, well, that mental image is now critically out of date. Our mission today is to replace it with the new reality of a city that's going through a profound metamorphosis.
It's a complete paradigm shift.
Yeah.
The core finding across everything we've read is that Addis in 2025 is creating a new blueprint for a 21st century African metropolis. And it's not defined by, chaos or sprawl, but by clean streets, modern infrastructure, and a really fierce commitment to sustainability.
A systemic reboot.
Exactly, an infrastructural reboot.
Okay, let's unpack that, starting with the first thing you'd notice, that immediate visceral shock. I mean, if you were to land in the city today, what is the very first thing that hits you? The cleanliness. Just how clean it is.
Yeah.
The old story of chaotic, littered streets has been, well, it's been systematically dismantled.
Okay, but how? I mean, how did they achieve that level of order so quickly? It seems almost impossible.
Well, it wasn't exactly overnight, but it was driven by a really smart, two-pronged strategy. High-tech on one side and high-level civic engagement on the other.
So you're saying it's not just more street sweepers?
No, you do see more municipal workers, but the real game changer, the thing that boosts efficiency, is the smart waste management system.
Okay, smart waste. We hear that term a lot. What does that actually mean on the ground in Addis? Can you give us specifics?
It means thousands of these specialized compacting bins all over the city. And they're not just solar powered, they have IoT sensors inside.
Wait, what are the sensors doing?
They're constantly monitoring everything, fill level, temperature, even compaction rate. And then they transmit that data in real time to a central platform. And that platform uses a kind of rudimentary AI to dynamically optimize the collection routes for the trucks.
So no more static schedules. They only send a truck when a bin is actually full.
Exactly. It cuts down on fuel, on labor hours. It's incredibly efficient.
That's fascinating. But a system like that has to be expensive. And it really only works if people, actually use the bins correctly.
Right. And that brings us to the human element. The sources all highlight the huge success of this Keep Addis Gleaming campaign. This wasn't just a government program. It was framed as a matter of national pride. A cultural mandate, even.
So they mobilized the public?
They mobilized everyone. Neighborhood associations, community groups, they all took ownership of their public spaces. It made sure all that new, expensive infrastructure was actually respected and used.
That's a huge achievement, marrying tech and public buy-in like that. But we have to be critical. This is a deep dive. Is this level of cleanliness uniform across the whole city? Or is it really just concentrated along the big high-profile roads like Bole Road and Mescal Square where the cameras are?
That's a crucial question. And initially, yes, the focus was absolutely on those main commercial and diplomatic arteries. And those streets now, they honestly rival any global capital. But the citizen mobilization part, that Keep Addis Gleaming campaign, that's what ensured the whole initiative decentralized pretty quickly.
So it spread outwards from the core.
It did. The smart bins might be more common in the dense commercial areas, but the sense of civic pride, that permeated into the peripheral neighborhoods. You see a demonstrable improvement in urban health everywhere, even if the tech isn't on every single corner.
So it's a top-down tech push meeting a bottom-up cultural shift.
Precisely.
That makes a lot of sense. A visible success breeds community investment. All right, let's pivot. Let's look up at the skyline, because this is a story of just audacious ambition.
It absolutely is. For decades, the African Union headquarters building was this solitary modern landmark. Today, it's surrounded by a dense forest of gleaming new high-rises. We're talking about huge complexes like the Abyssinia Towers and, maybe most importantly, the new Ethiopian World Bank building.
And these buildings, they're more than just office space. They're signals, right?
They're massive signals of economic confidence. They act as anchors for both domestic and foreign investment.
What I find fascinating here is that this isn't just an uncontrolled boom. There's a concept guiding this vertical growth. What is it?
The key concept is strategic densification.
Right.
Look, Addis, like a lot of rapidly growing African capitals, is facing huge population pressure. So by choosing to build up vertically with high-density mixed-use zoning, the city is deliberately pushing back against urban sprawl. And this is critical. It helps preserve the green corridors and the farmland on the outskirts.
And how do you make that happen logistically? You can't just tell developers to build higher.
No, you need policy.
Yeah.
So they did these rapid, comprehensive updates to zoning laws. They incentivized developers with things like tax breaks and streamlined permits, but only if they met specific standards for mixed use or green building design.
But the speed of it all, I mean, when you build this fast, what do the sources say about the risks? I'm thinking about displacement or just regulations struggling to keep pace.
That is the constant tension, for sure. The sources do acknowledge that this kind of rapid urban renewal always creates friction around land tenure and compensation. But the government has tried to mitigate that by prioritizing new, planned residential neighborhoods just outside the core.
So creating new housing supply to ease the pressure.
Exactly. Modern apartment complexes with full amenities. The goal is to channel the growth strategically instead of just letting it happen chaotically.
Okay, so you've managed the population pressure by going vertical, but then you have to move all those people. Let's talk about the transportation revolution, because traffic jams are, the defining feature of most boom towns.
And they have made massive leaps there. The Addis Ababa light rail, which was already serving millions, has been significantly expanded to reach more of those dense residential areas. But the real revolution, the thing that's truly transformational, is the city's shift away from fossil fuels.
The EV shift. The sources suggest the sheer number of electric vehicles on the road is maybe the most striking difference for a visitor in 2025.
Absolutely. The government launched this incredibly aggressive suite of incentives. We're talking huge tax exemptions on imported electric cars and, crucially, on the batteries themselves.
Which brought the price down.
It made these highly efficient, often Chinese-made EVs financially accessible for a huge new slice of the middle class. And you're even starting to see nascent Ethiopian EV brands pop up.
But every time a city pushes EVs this hard, you have to ask the critical question. What about the power grid? You can't have thousands of new cars charging if the power is unreliable.
That is the essential logistical constraint, and it's where their national energy strategy perfectly converges with their urban planning.
How so?
Ethiopia has invested heavily in massive domestic hydropower projects like the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. So they have an abundance of comparatively cheap, clean domestic power.
Which gave them the confidence to push electrification.
Exactly. And the city didn't just wait for the private sector to build charging stations. The municipality partnered with international firms to roll out a huge decentralized network of public chargers really quickly. It basically eliminated range anxiety from day one.
That is such a crucial detail. Using a domestic renewable power source to fuel a clean transport transition. That elevates the whole project. And that move to silent clean transport connects perfectly to our next big shock. Just how fundamentally green Addis Ababa has become.
It's a very deliberate effort to re-engineer the urban environment with nature itself. And when people hear green city, they just think of parks. But here, the green infrastructure is deeply functional.
And the crown jewel of this is the Shager Riverside project. Can you describe that transformation? Because the sources paint this picture of a total reversal of environmental decline.
It's incredible. These were once polluted, neglected, often dangerous waterways that were prone to flooding. They've been completely transformed. They're now these beautiful integrated park-lined corridors. They have paved walking paths, dedicated cycling lanes.
So they're transportation corridors now, too.
Yes, vital connectors between different neighborhoods. And you see people using them, families strolling, kids playing. It's brought life back to the river. And functionally, this is so important. The riverbanks now use things like bioretention and permeable surfaces, so the whole corridor helps manage stormwater runoff and prevents flash floods.
So it's part of their climate resilience strategy.
A critical part. And the sheer volume of new trees and plants helps mitigate the urban heat island effect you get in dense concrete cities. These aren't just cosmetic parks, they're the city's lungs.
This level of structural investment, it has to lead to a shift in how people behave, in the culture of the city itself.
Absolutely. All this new infrastructure, the clean streets, the silent buses, the green rivers, it demands a different mindset, and you can feel it. There's this palpable sense of optimism, of national pride.
A culture of order and efficiency.
And accountability, yeah.
And we see this reflected in the economy, too, not just in civic behavior.
Definitely. This new sense of order has created fertile ground for entrepreneurship. You have young people opening chic cafes and tech startups in renovated buildings. The cultural scene is just thriving. It's this amazing bridge between Ethiopia's deep ancient heritage and contemporary global trends. Art galleries, cultural centers, they're incredibly dynamic.
Okay, so if we synthesize this, they're fostering this new urban culture that values innovation and order. But the key question is always, are they managing to keep the city's unique cultural soul intact?
That's the delicate balance, and it really seems like they've struck it. This modernization isn't homogenization. They fostered this new culture of innovation without losing that deeply rooted soul, the famous Ethiopian warmth and hospitality. The city is maintaining its identity, its taste, its color, its history, while also demanding a global standard of infrastructure.
Addis Ababa in 2025 really is a powerful rebuke to so many outdated stereotypes of African cities. It just proves what's possible with visionary leadership and massive strategic investment.
Especially when it's backed by smart policies, like the EV incentives and a powerful citizen mobilization campaign.
This isn't a projection anymore, it's the new reality.
It's a city that has really transitioned its reputation. It's gone from being primarily the diplomatic capital of Africa to being a model of its urban future. It's on the map for urban planners everywhere.
So if Addis is succeeding by integrating three massive components, technology like the smart waste systems, policy incentives for the EV shift, and that powerful citizen mobilization, here is a final provocative thought for you to chew on. If another large African capital wanted to replicate this kind of systemic urban change, which of those three essential elements, the tech, the policy, or the citizen mobilization,